What's up, everyone? It is Phil Steppen back again with another installment of the TWIF series. Now, I'm going to touch on a few points before we jump into our Week 7 preview. If you haven't seen my new series called Cheese Pizza, go check it out. A link will be in the description of this video. Basically, it is me and Spencer. You know him as Fabiano's Brilliance, or maybe if you're an OG TWIF viewer, the USC Athlete Compensation Fund. It is Spencer and I cheesing our asses off in StarCraft 2 and just being obnoxious. And it's cute and it's fun to watch. And there's an XCal reference there, and if you get that, you're the greatest person in the whole world. So, with that being said, and with this thing being said, that thing being, there will also be a link to the playlist of this year's TWIF in the description. So if you are behind on episodes and you need to catch up, or maybe you want to just, heck, review them all in order, if you want to go from draft all the way up until this week, and I think it would be kind of cool to go back and be like, oh, he said this would happen, and it happened, and oh, he was totally wrong about this. Anyway, that will be in the description. If you're reviewing this video on a mobile device, you will probably not be able to access the link because mobile devices are weird like that. And if you've never seen one of my videos on a computer before, I would suggest doing so because it is a much better viewing experience. So let's review last week's matchups. I came on top versus Ben. It wasn't even close. Ben's team played terribly, 103 to 63. The Night Owl managed to steamroll Rampy after Sean Green somehow did something. Spencer embarrassed Weston. Weston had a really bad week again, and I'm now tied for the division lead with him. Disco and Seagouch. Disco came out on top. Choking a Hogo beat his dad, the commish, 97 to 66. And because no fried rice benched Jordy Nelson and CJ Spiller, he let my Team Sucks beat him. Which Team Sucks had AJ Green and Aaron Rodgers put up 65 points combined, which is pretty cute. So let's jump in balls deep to the Week 7 matchups. And that wasn't the right button to hit, but this one was. Starting it off, no fried rice for you and clap for bacon. Let me get on the right tab here. So we have Tony Romo facing off against Tom Brady. There's not a whole lot to say here. They're both very good quarterbacks. Although Romo has a very good matchup going against my Panthers, which, quick note, I will very much enjoy watching the Cowboy-Panther game. Whenever it happens, I love it. It's like my favorite matchup in the NFL. Tom Brady facing off against the Jets defense, so he also has a good matchup. Edge Brady. CJ Spillhole actually in no fried starting roster this week. Definitely will outperform Ahmad Bradshaw. Spiller's playing the atrocious Bills defense. No, excuse me, the Titans defense. He plays for the Bills. And Bradshaw, I don't think he's as good as Spiller, first of all. And second of all, he's playing the Redskins, who have a decent defense. William Powell starting, still not great. Alex Smith, nothing really to be said about either of these guys. They're both bye-week fill-ins. I will have to give the edge to William Powell just because he'll probably get more touches. The Packers actually don't run very much at all. Reggie Wayne in the starting lineup for no fried rice this week. This is one of those remorse things where they score so many points you just plug them in. It doesn't actually matter if they have a good matchup or not. You just have to plug them in. Although, good matchup Jordy Nelson does have because he's playing the Rams. Reggie Wayne is having a career year, and he's playing the Browns, which is actually a better matchup than the Rams, so advantage Wayne. Victor Cruz and Marquise Colston, even though they're both very good receivers, Cruz gets the edge almost every time just because Saints receivers are inconsistent. Heath Miller and Owen Daniels. Heath Miller looks like he's lost a severe amount of blood in his picture. Very pale. Very bad. Owen Daniels will outperform him and it won't be close. Stevie Johnson, touchdown magnet, retard magnet, and Devery Henderson's awful. Advantage Stevie Johnson. Steven Gronkowski versus Robbie Gould. Gronkowski gets the edge. I mean, they're playing the Jets. Come on, the Pats are probably going to put up like 40. And the Browns and Pats. The Browns look to have a good matchup this week playing the Colts, although the Patriots also look to have a good matchup playing the Jets. So advantage Patriots just because Mark Sanchez loves to throw interceptions. I'm going to go ahead and give the edge to Kevin here, just because No Fried Rice for You is starting all the wrong people at all the wrong times. Not to say that he shouldn't be starting Spiller and Nelson, but they're not going to put up 30 and 25 again. So Clapfor gets the edge there. He still has a chance this year, but his window is closing. Here we have the Fantasy Genius and the Night Owl. This is your game of the week. It doesn't seem like a great one right off the bat, but what you have to consider is that both the Night Owl and the Fantasy Genius are on the cusp of either being very, very much so in the hunt of their division, and then if they lose, maybe one or two more times, then they might be out. They're both 3-3. I think Ben is one game behind. I know Lily is one game behind because she's in my division. So this is a very, very big game for both teams. Starting it off, we got, your boy, Andrew Luck, possibly the ugliest player in the NFL, and he also likes to throw interceptions. Fortunately, he's facing the Browns. But Lily will be plugging in Cam Newton, I'm sure, who is playing the Cowboys defense. The Cowboys defense that has Jared Sensabaugh. Advantage, Cam Newton. Sean Green had 30-something points last week. Completely, unpredictably amazing, although he'll never do it again because he's still Sean Green. Advantage, Jaron McFadden. Dougie Martin had one of his first decent weeks all year last week. He's been a huge disappointment for people that got him. And Trent Richardson will surely outperform him because he's playing the Colts. Kevin Queeftree hasn't actually done anything since week 1. Steve Smith has done something since week 1. Advantage, Steve Smith. Andre Roberts and Larry Fitzgerald. This is kind of cute because they play for the same team. One of them's good and one of them's not. I know that Ben traded CJ2K for Andre Roberts. Roberts does have 4 touchdowns on the year, but big deal. Fitzgerald's going to get 10 times more targets. Brent Selleck is on a bye week, so God knows who Liz is going to plug in. Judging by the extremely small amount of decent tight ends in the league, I'm going to say that Greg Olsen will outperform whoever she picks up, if she picks up anyone. Michael LaShore only projected 5 points for some reason. I'm pretty sure he starts, but he's playing Mario Manningham, so even if he splits time, he'll probably get more points. Manningham does have that unfavorable Redskins defense matchup. Shane Andrus, bye week. Lawrence Tynes, not bye week. Advantage Tynes. And the Cardinals and the Packers. Well, let's think about this for a second. The Packers are playing the Rams. The Cardinals are playing the Vikings. One of those teams can score touchdowns, and it is not the Rams. Advantage Packers. I'm going to give Ben the edge this week. I feel confident that Richardson will get him a fairly large amount of points, and I do not have confidence in Lily's ability to just fill spots. It's kind of a, not complicated, but something that it takes a while to learn. That is the ability to pick up a decent kicker. It sounds kind of cliche and easy, but it's really not. You have to know the matchups and know them well. If you just pick up the guy with the top amount of points, chances are there's a reason he's on the waiver wire. As Michael Scott once said, Stanleys don't grow on trees. David Akers don't grow on trees. You can quote me on that one, guys. David Akers don't grow on trees. Given my edge, Fantasy Genius. I think he's going to come back. I think he's going to be in contingents for his division. Here we have Cure Sucks and Choking out. Aaron Rodgers, Matt Schaub, nothing needs to be said. Aaron Rodgers is all-powerful, especially coming off of a 40-point performance. Frank Gorehole has been surprisingly good this year. Ray Rice is really, really freaking good. Ray Rice will almost always be better than Frank Gore. Almost always. Advantage Rice. Pierre Thomas, awful. Stephen Ridley, not that bad. Advantage Ridley. Julio Jones, bye week. Demaryius Thomas, bye week. The Cure Sucks has no depth at all, so edge Cameron. AJ Green, Percy Harvin. AJ Green's a monster, giving him the edge. Jacob Tamey, bye week. Jared Cook, bad. The two tight ends will probably combine for 2 points. Alshon Jeffrey, bye week. Fred Jackson, decent. Edge Jackson. Sebastian Janikowski plays for the Raiders, which is basically like having a bye week for your career. Mason Crosby plays for the Packers, which is basically like being in very close personal contact with a jeweler because you get lots of rings. Advantage Mason Crosby. Eagles defense, bye week. New York Giants playing the Redskins. Well, still better than being on a bye week. The Cure Sucks has an incredible lack of depth on his team, accompanied with incredible bad luck or poor drafting, whichever you want to call it. But you should never have that many bye weeks. So Cameron is getting my Combat X easy pick of the week. Combat X, stay easy, son. With that being said, we return to our matchups. Disco Hobbits, get your popcorn ready. I considered making this one the game of the week, but considering that both teams have lost 2 out of their last 3, I think a more indie, if you will, matchup deserved it. The game of the week isn't just the two teams with the best records, fellas. It has a lot more to do with storyline and overall feel. So we have Chad and Weston facing off this week. We have the monster known as RG3. He gets rushing yards. That makes him like the best quarterback in the league. Advantage RG3. Steven Jackson, completely awful all year. Willis McGahee on a bye week. Edge S-Jacks. Law Firm and Arian Foster. Arian Foster is probably the best back in the league. Advantage Foster. Megatron. Complete disappointment for anyone stupid enough to draft him in the first round. However, he will edge out Roddy White, who is on that bye week. Antonio Brown, second best receiver of the Steelers to Mike Wallace, will be outperformed by Andre Johnson, who, luckily for Johnson owners, he's still not hurt. Jimmy Graham, touchdown magnet. Kyle Rudolph, retard magnet. I'll give the advantage to Jimmy Graham. Oh, obviously I'm giving the edge to Johnson as a second receiver matchup. Pierre Garçon projected a hefty 18 this week. Why, you're asking? Because Michael Fabiano says so. Miles Austin playing the Panthers defense. You know what? Miles Austin is going to outperform Pierre Garçon even though he's projected 33% as many points. Why is Pierre Garçon projected 18 points after not doing anything since week 1? I say again, folks, because Fabs said so. Blair Walsh, he kind of looks like R.E. Gold, and Matt Prater's on a bye week, so R.E. Gold gets the edge. Anyone who gets that reference, you're a baller. Houston Texans, Minnesota Vikings. Well, with defense, you really have to look at the matchups, with the exception of the Niners and Texans, in which case you almost auto give them the advantage. Advantage, Texans. That's right. This week, it looks like I'm giving the edge to Weston, just because even though I think his team looks a little weaker, Disco has some bye week issues that are going to bite him in the butt, quite frankly. I hate to say it, but I really need Weston to lose. I don't actually hate to say it, but Weston will win that, I believe. Unless RG3 just has a monstrous game. This is one of those things where I kind of have to make it seem interesting, but it's really, really hard to. Now, Seagouch will get more than 37 points, trust me. Actually, I'm going to go to the box score to explain this to you because it's such a disaster. Mark Sanchez will not start for Christian. Drew Brees will. You can count on that. Michael Turner is on bye. He will be outperformed by AD Adrian Peterson. The little lightning bug, Darren Sproles, will probably be outperformed by Alfred Morris just because Morris is getting so many touches. Des Bryant and Wes Welker, although Bryant finally woke up in week 6, Welker still gets the advantage. Robert Meacham on bye will probably be replaced by someone scrubby like Titus Young. Or, what is this? Anquan Boldin, where did he come from? I'll tell you where he came from, folks, from my team. That's right. I traded Christian Antonio Gates and Anquan Boldin, for Vernon Davis. What does this mean? It means I lose an incredibly good top tier 2 receiver who's almost a guaranteed 10 points every week. It also means the first week that Antonio Gates goes off, I get rid of him. Which I'm honestly not even upset about because he shat on me so hard for the first 6 weeks. That one 20-point performance when I already clinched my game doesn't exactly make me miss him. This also means I have a little bit more consistency out of my tight end spot, and it gives overall Seagouch has more depth on his team just because of Boldin. So Boldin will probably go in for Meacham and will probably outperform Vincent Jackson. Although Gates had a great week last week, there is Rob Gronkowski playing the Jets, who is a shoo-in for 15. Advantage Gronkowski. Torrey Smith, I think the lesser of the Ravens receivers, definitely the less consistent, will probably outperform Titus Young or Kevin Smith or whoever Seagouch is going to put in. Maybe Greg Jennings will be back. Who knows? But Torrey Smith will probably, unless it's Greg Jennings, Smith will do better. Smith does have an unfavorable matchup, but I mean, who the heck is Seagouch going to put in? He can't really afford to flex a running back because he has Burnzo on bye. So Smith is going to get the advantage pretty much for sure. And Dan Bailey and Jason Hanson, they're both very good. Bailey, of course, missing that 50-yard field goal to win it for the Cowboys. Jason Hanson is playing the Bears. So I'm going to give the advantage to Bailey, even though overall he's not as good. And here we have the Niners and Bears defense. I mentioned top-tier defenses earlier. The Niners and I believe I said Texans. Yes, I did. This year the Bears are in that category. They lead the league in takeaways. And they're playing Detroit, whose offense has struggled, so I'm giving the advantage to the Bears. Spencer will win this week. It won't even be close. Although, it's mostly because of bye weeks, and I like to be somewhat bold with the easy pick of the week because, and I think Seagouch has, well, I'm just going to stop myself there. Spencer gets the edge and it's not close. Here we have a game that would usually be good if I didn't get taken to the Penn State locker room with all these bye weeks. Christian Ponder and that Wilson dude from Seattle. Well, the Wilson dude is playing a little team called San Francisco. Remember when I said their defense was really freaking good? Yeah, edge Christian Ponder. Marshawn Lynch will outperform Matt Forte just because Matt Forte doesn't actually get touchdowns. MJD going up against Oakland with a very favorable matchup will be facing off against Michael Bush. This is something I can't tell if Aaron's being cute or desperate, but considering Murray's hurt, I'm going to call it desperate. Aaron's pretty much guaranteed 20 points out of Forte and Bush, which is nice, and like the handcuff scenario works really well. But how much production do you need out of the two guys? Because obviously there's only so much running they can do. You're going to net any running touchdown basically because Action J, when he's not throwing picks, he's not running. Kind of sounded weird, but you get my drift. Like, anything that's going to be on the ground for the Bears is going to be by one of these two guys. So what do you expect if you're Aaron? Do you expect 15? Do you expect 30? Do you expect Forte to get 20 and Bush to get, 10, like 50 yards and a touchdown? I don't know what you expect if you're Aaron. I think you just expect DeMarco Murray to be back next week, honestly. Advantage MJD. Here we have Julio Jones. And when I say Julio Jones, I really mean James Jones, playing against Brandon Lloyd. Lloyd has a better matchup. Jones has a better quarterback. Advantage, James Jones. Mike Wallace. Jay Gordon, who plays for Cleveland. Okay, before I say anything, let's look at Aaron's bench. He has Burleson and Golden Tate. So he actually doesn't have a much better option. Advantage Wallace. Vernon Davis and Jermaine Gresham. Gresham has a bad matchup, and he is also himself bad. Advantage Vernon Davis. Mike Wallace, not particularly good, but a bye week fill. And LaRon Stevens Howling. He has a running back, but I'm pretty sure he doesn't start. He splits time, so advantage Williams. Greg the Legs Illyrian and David Akers. Greg, great up-and-coming kicker, but do you guys really think I'm going to give the edge to him over David Akers? If I met David Akers in real life, I would ask for an autograph, a picture, and I would ask to be his child's godfather. That's how much of a legend that guy is. Then the Ravens and Steelers defense. This one's actually really simple. The Steelers are playing Cincinnati. The Ravens are playing Houston. Houston has a good offense. Cincinnati does not really. I mean, it's okay, not great. Advantage Steelers, but it's close. And let's look at why my lineup looks so bad this week. Starting quarterback on bye. Eric Decker, start worthy, on bye. Jeremy Maclin, start worthy, on bye. LaShawn McCoy, top tier, on bye. Aaron does have Manning on bye and Murray hurt, but it's not really as severe as my bye week issues. I'm giving the edge to myself in this game just because, remember in week 1, 2, 3, and 4 when I talked on and on about how some teams wouldn't be able to survive bye weeks because of lack of depth? Aaron's team was a really good example. He had some very, very strong wins that made him look like a stud early on. But then this happens. He starts people that should be on the waiver wire just because he doesn't have any choice. So, hopefully, this is what Aaron, if you're Aaron, this is what you hope for. You hope that I come out of, I don't know when bye week's in, I'm going to assume like week 8 or 9. This is Aaron's thinking. I sure as hell hope that I can come out of bye weeks with an even or +1, and by that I mean one more win than loss record. Basically just so I can be in the hunt. If Aaron comes out with a 3-6 record and he's going into his 10th game, oh shit, he might be the most dangerous 3-6 team on in the whole fantasy football league. But it doesn't matter because they've got so many brooches. Actually, it doesn't matter because he will be mathematically out at that point. Guys, I hope you enjoyed the TWIF. I'm going to scroll down into the free agent pool / bye week pickups. If you could leave me a comment, tell me how you feel about today's TWIF. I hope you enjoyed it. As I promised, it was up earlier than the Weston episode. Also, like I've said, we won't have guests every week. It's just kind of whenever I feel like I need one or whenever I need to mix one in. I know it's nice. I know you guys like it, and I try to pick knowledgeable people. I don't go out. Actually, I was about to say I don't go out and just pick up randoms, but it might be kind of cute if I have someone who knows nothing about football come be a guest. I don't know. Maybe be on the lookout for that. It would be kind of obnoxious. Maybe that'll be a good episode at like week 14 when half the teams are mathematically out and there's only a couple of decent matchups. I'm also going to plug again the fact that I am now posting StarCraft 2 content on my channel, showcasing obnoxious, cheesy, funny 2v2s with Spencer from the Fantasy Football League. Also going to plug that playlist of this year's TWIFs, just in case you missed them. Alright, that's all the plugging I'm going to do, guys. I don't actually have any sponsors. If you would like to sponsor me, companies out there, send me a message. It's been Phil Steppen, and I'm out, sons.